Shanghai Tunnels, Portland's underground nightmare. Case file, Oregon, 1850-092. Date of initial report, March 17, 1850. Status, unexplained. Good evening. I'm Detective James Miller with the State Bureau of Investigation's Special Historical Cases Division. For over 30 years, I've been documenting unexplained phenomena across America, piecing together the fragments of our nation's darkest mysteries. Tonight, I'm opening one of Oregon's most disturbing case files, a series of incidents that began in 1850 but continue to haunt Portland to this day. The file before me contains police reports, witness statements, and photographic evidence spanning more than 170 years. Some of what I'm about to share with you defies conventional explanation. The Shanghai Tunnels of Portland, Oregon. If you have a story, drop a comment below and subscribe to the channel. What began as a network of utilitarian underground passageways beneath the city's Old Town and Chinatown districts eventually transformed into something far more sinister. These tunnels connect the basements of many old downtown buildings to the Willamette River waterfront. Their original purpose was practical, moving goods from the docked ships to businesses without battling Portland's notorious rain. But by the late 1800s, they served a darker function. They became the infrastructure for what locals called Shanghaiing, the kidnapping of men to serve as crew members aboard ships bound for the Orient. The first documented case came to the attention of authorities on March 17, 1850, when a businessman named Thomas Wilkes reported the disappearance of his assistant, a 22-year-old man named James Lowry. According to the original police report, Lowry had gone for a drink at a waterfront establishment called the Siren's Call. He never returned home. The Oregonian newspaper ran a small article about Lowry's disappearance. Initial investigation suggested he may have willingly abandoned his position, but Wilkes insisted that Lowry was reliable and had recently become engaged. He had no reason to vanish voluntarily. 3 months later, a letter arrived from Lowry, postmarked from Shanghai, China. He claimed he'd been drugged at the tavern, awakening days later aboard a merchant vessel bound for the Far East. By the time he regained his faculties, the American coastline was long gone, and he was told he now belonged to the ship. This was the first documented case of what would become an epidemic in Portland. Over the next 60 years, thousands of men would disappear through the underground network. The operation was sophisticated. Certain bartenders would drug patrons' drinks. Once unconscious, victims would be dropped through trapdoors in the floor, transported through the tunnels, and loaded onto ships. By the time they awoke, they were already at sea. These tunnels still exist today. Modern photographs reveal narrow passageways with low ceilings, brick walls glistening with moisture, and the occasional rusted remnant of the tunnel's dark past. Chains embedded in walls, makeshift holding cells, and what appears to be ancient bloodstains on the stone floors. But what elevates this from merely historical crime to something worthy of our division's attention are the reports that began emerging in the early 1900s, reports that continue to this day, reports of something unnatural dwelling in those tunnels. Portland police officer Thomas Grady filed this report after responding to a disturbance call at the Kelly Hotel, which stood above a section of the tunnels. Responded to distress call at approximately 11:47 p.m. Hotel manager Samuel Kelly reported unearthly sounds coming from the basement. Upon investigation, I detected what sounded like multiple male voices moaning from behind a brick wall. No visible means of access was found. The sound ceased after approximately 7 minutes. No explanation found. Mr. Kelly reports similar disturbances occurring monthly for the past year. This report marks the beginning of what would become a pattern of unexplained phenomena associated with the tunnels. As Portland modernized, many entrances to the tunnels were sealed off, businesses changed hands, and the dark history began to fade from public memory. But whatever dwells below apparently refused to be forgotten. Let me turn to a more recent account. In September 1973, a maintenance worker named Robert Jensen was inspecting the basement of what is now Old Town Pizza, a building constructed in 1880. The basement contained a sealed entrance to the tunnel system. Jensen reported hearing what he described as shuffling footsteps on the other side of the bricked-up entrance. Thinking someone had somehow accessed the sealed area, he contacted his supervisor. When they returned with tools to investigate, they heard what Jensen described as the sounds of a struggle, like multiple men fighting, followed by a scream that didn't sound entirely human. Portland police investigated but found no signs of entry. The brick wall was intact, with no evidence it had been disturbed. The case was dismissed as probable auditory misinterpretation of building settling or water pipes. But Jensen quit his job the following day. The modern era has brought a new dimension to these reports. With the rise of ghost tours and paranormal investigation teams in the 1990s, the tunnels have become something of a destination for those seeking the supernatural. This image was captured by a paranormal research team that gained official access to a portion of the tunnels. While the quality is poor due to the low light conditions, you can clearly see what appears to be a misty human-shaped figure at the end of the passage. What's notable is that all three investigators present swore no one else was in the tunnel at the time this photograph was taken. The audio recording from the same investigation captured what sound engineers at our lab have identified as multiple overlapping male voices speaking in early 19th century maritime English. One phrase clearly audible on the enhanced recording: "Please God, not the Orient." Perhaps most disturbing is the case that brought me to re-examine this file tonight. 2 weeks ago, on April 3, 2024, a historical restoration team was granted access to a previously sealed section of the tunnels beneath what used to be the Lotus Card Room, a notorious Shanghaiing spot in the late 1800s. The 4-person team was documenting the space for potential preservation when one member, architectural historian Dr. Emily Chen, separated from the group to photograph an unusual archway. According to statements from the other team members, they heard Dr. Chen scream approximately 5 minutes later. When they reached her position, she was unconscious on the ground, with what appeared to be bruising around her wrists and ankles, marks consistent with restraints. When Dr. Chen regained consciousness in the hospital 6 hours later, her statement to Portland police was troubling. "I felt something grab my wrists and ankles simultaneously. It felt like multiple hands, but ice cold and wrong somehow. I was dragged several feet toward what looked like a rusted metal door that I hadn't noticed before. I could hear men's voices all around me, but I couldn't see anyone. They were saying things like, 'She'll fetch a good price in the Orient,' and 'Another one for the captain.' I screamed, and then everything went black." The other team members reported seeing no door matching Dr. Chen's description, nor did subsequent police investigation locate such a feature. Dr. Chen's smartwatch, however, recorded a heart rate spike consistent with extreme fear, and her body temperature dropped nearly 3 degrees during the incident, a physiological response that doctors have been unable to explain. What makes this case particularly significant is that Dr. Chen had no prior knowledge of the Shanghaiing practices or the specific terminology used. Yet the phrases she reported hearing match historical accounts almost verbatim. The tunnels span approximately 9 miles beneath Portland's Old Town. Modern access is restricted, with many sections permanently sealed. Yet maintenance workers, city employees, and authorized researchers consistently report unexplained phenomena within these underground passages. The pattern emerging from these reports suggests several consistent elements. 1. The phenomena intensified during spring months, particularly March and April, which historians note were the busiest months for Shanghaiing operations due to sailing conditions. 2. The manifestations frequently involve sounds of struggle, male voices speaking in period-appropriate maritime dialect, and sudden cold spots. 3. Physical evidence occasionally accompanies the experiences. Unexplained bruising on witnesses, objects moved, and in 3 documented cases since 1950, the appearance of 19th century artifacts that weren't present before the incidents. This bottle was found in Dr. Chen's pocket after her recent experience. Laboratory analysis confirms it's consistent with containers used to hold chloroform in the 1880s. Dr. Chen has no explanation for how it came to be in her possession. More troublingly, trace amounts of the chemical were still present, a compound that has long since degraded in any authentic artifact of that age. The Shanghai Tunnels present a unique challenge for investigators. Unlike many cases of alleged paranormal activity, we have extensive historical documentation of the crimes committed in these spaces. Between 1850 and 1941, when the practice finally ended, it's estimated that over 3,000 men were kidnapped through these tunnels and forced into maritime service. Many never returned to American shores, dying at sea or in foreign ports thousands of miles from home. If any location deserves to be haunted, perhaps it's this one. I should note that we've investigated alternative explanations. Modern homeless encampments occasionally form inaccessible sections of the tunnels, though city authorities routinely clear these out. Environmental testing has revealed no hallucinogenic mold or gas leaks that might explain the consistent reports. Acoustical engineers have studied the possibility that the tunnel structure creates unusual sound effects that might be misinterpreted, but this doesn't account for physical evidence like Dr. Chen's bruises or the inexplicable artifacts. As I've often found in my decades of investigation, the most disturbing cases are those where the line between historical human cruelty and supernatural manifestation blurs. The Shanghai Tunnels may represent this intersection, a place where the echoes of past atrocities have somehow retained a physical presence in our world. The Shanghai Tunnels case remains open. Portland authorities continue to restrict access to most sections, officially citing structural safety concerns. But those who've experienced the underground passages firsthand often suggest a different reason for keeping people out. As one Portland police officer noted in his 2019 report, after responding to yet another disturbance call, "Whatever's down there, it's still hunting." This is Detective James Miller with the State Bureau of Investigation. Remember, the absence of explanation doesn't confirm the supernatural, but it doesn't disprove it either. Good night. Personal notes. The Shanghai Tunnel case represents a classic haunting pattern tied to historical trauma. The consistency of reports across 170-plus years suggests something beyond urban legend or suggestible witnesses. Dr. Chen's case particularly troubles me. Her professional background and lack of prior knowledge about Shanghaiing practices makes her testimony especially credible. The physical evidence, bruising, temperature drop, antique chloroform bottle, aligns with too many historical details to dismiss. I've requested permission to personally visit the site. Though given my age and the physical requirements of navigating the tunnels, I may need to send younger investigators. This case connects to similar phenomena I've documented in other port cities where human trafficking occurred. Baltimore's Point, New Orleans' Undermarket, San Francisco's Barbary Coast. There appears to be a pattern of maritime crimes creating particularly persistent supernatural imprints. Evidence log. Original police reports, 1850-1941, documenting disappearances. Newspaper articles chronicling Shanghai practices. Photographs of tunnel system, 1890-present. Audio recordings from 2002 paranormal investigation. Medical reports for Dr. Emily Chen, 2024. Physical artifact, glass chloroform bottle, circa 1880. Witness statements from 27 individuals reporting phenomena, 1908-2024. Digital temperature and EMF readings from 2002, 2013, and 2024 investigations. Manchar's case status. Update. Investigation ongoing. Portland Historical Society has approved limited access for our team pending city permits. Recent incident with Dr. Chen suggests increased activity in previously undisturbed sections. Recommend continued documentation and potential collaboration with historical experts to determine if specific remains or artifacts might be triggering the phenomena. Case remains unexplained.